Like any form of art, games can have an impact on you. They can amaze, astound, amuse, and sometimes horrify the player. With scenes of obscene horror or things that just make you want to crawl your eyes out. Images that just make you want to take a step back and look at your life and analyze exactly what brought you here. What brought you to this horrific scene that will make you re-evaluate your understanding of the world. These are the top 7 most horrific scenes in games. Be advised, these are not scenes that should be seen by small children. They can leave permanent mental scars. Well, some of them. Not the first one. You can watch that because it's, well, it is disturbing, but only if you think about it too much. That being said, number 7. Mario kills Yoshi. You probably wouldn't consider this horrific, but just think about it for a moment. You're Mario, the hero of the kingdom. You're there to save everyone. And yet, the game is designed in such a way that you must kill Yoshi in order to proceed. There are jumps in the game that you can only do if you use Yoshi as a trampoline and then dump his ass into a pit and kill him. Let that sink in, just for a moment. You have to repeatedly and without any sort of remorse sacrifice your ally. In a game where, if I'm not mistaken, you actually can fly by getting a cape. They designed it in such a way that no, there is no salvation for the poor dinosaur. He will die, and he will die by your hand, you monster. Sure, not all that horrific in the context of having games about blowing people's heads off, but this was in a game made for a very young audience, which is now trained to basically murder their allies, their friends, if it means getting ahead in life, or anywhere. And if that's not horrifying, I don't know what would be. Number 6. Metal Gear Solid Ground Zero's ending. Picture this. You're Big Boss and just saved Chico and Paz who were captured by Cypher. You're on that chopper, you're taking off, you're going home, and then you realize Paz has a bomb in her stomach. Now, you're not actually Big Boss, you're some person standing in front of a screen. Big Boss would have actually no sort of hesitation about cutting someone open to remove a bomb. You probably would. You probably do. Seeing Paz being cut apart and having that bomb extracted from her abdomen while she's wide awake, screaming, yelling, pleading for her life, kinda really sets up a dark sequel, well, rest of the game, which we didn't actually get because Phantom Pain never got that dark actually, apart from 2 very dark scenes, which would have been better used earlier in the game, but that's besides the point. Paz's surgery, and I'm using air quotes now because I've had surgery and I wasn't awake, or let's just say, that's not a nice thing to happen to you. And seeing it even in game is kinda horrifying. Number 5. That thing in the darkness. You know the one. You probably know the one if you played the darkness. If you haven't, well, you're probably a lot happier as a person in general than me. And I didn't even play it, I just saw it. It's that scene where Jenny gets captured and you, as Jackie, try to save her, only that you actually can't. And you just sit there powerless while she gets, well, executed right in front of you. This after the game builds up a quite nice relationship between them. A nice romantic one where it actually shows that they care for one another. And if Jenny dying horribly wasn't bad enough, Jackie then pulls out a gun and shoots himself in the head. In a video game. That's the kind of stuff you don't really see outside of R-rated movies. The really dark and disturbing ones. Oh sure, Jackie doesn't actually die because he's possessed basically by the devil, or the darkness. It's evil, that's what matters most. Point is, that's a very horrifying scene. Sort of if like Romeo and Juliet were even more twisted than it actually was. Because you kinda have to face it, Shakespeare killed more characters than George R.R. Martin in very horrific ways. Number 4. Finding out your teammates are Russian. Oh, don't act like you don't know what this is about. Picture this. You're in a competitive multiplayer game, something like CounterStrike Go. Up until now, you've played as best you could and managed to win every game. This last one is gonna decide your fate. This last one is gonna decide if you're gonna rank up into, I don't know, Gold Eagle or something, or tumble down towards Rotten Piece of Ham 7, which I've been told is an actual CounterStrike Go rank. You can achieve it by playing like crap. But then, just as the match starts, you say, in whatever language you speak, "Come on boys, we can do it," or "Allons-y," or "Buongiorno," or "Bova spark some water mama." And instead of answering in a language which you speak, your teammate says something like
"Говорить по-русски,"
and then rushes B and dies with the bomb, while everyone said to go A. Now you may be saying to yourself, oh my god, how can you be so racist? Well, 1, Russians aren't a race, and 2, if you've played Counter-Strike, you know this happens 24/7. And yet, it's still horrifying when you're just about to win, when you're just about to level up to get to a new rank, you find out 1 or 2 or 3 of your teammates are Russians, and well, they're not even the good kind of Russians that hack their way to victory. No, they're the I'm 12, my parents don't care that I bought a Counter-Strike game which is not supposed to be played by 12-year-olds. It's somehow 10 p.m. on a school day and I'm still allowed to play this and scream as if I were a feral child and no one cared about my well-being because everyone else is drunk. If you tell me that's not a horrific scene, then you must be playing on some really non-Russian servers. Or you have that hack for Counter-Strike Go that lets you avoid servers with Russians on it. No, really. It's such a horrific experience that there's a hack which won't get you VAC banned that lets you avoid Russians. That's how horrific it can get, that you need software protection against it. Number 3. The EA logo. You know the feeling, you know just what happens, and yet every time it's like a soul-sucking demon crawls out of your monitor and tries to murder you. Even if you know that this game is made by Electronic Arts, when that logo pops up, it just fills you with utter dread. It horrifies you beyond belief. Whatever happens next, you know there's no way you can escape it. There's not enough holy water to save you, to exorcise the demons from this game, from your system now. It's tainted forever, and your money's gone. And that Electronic Arts logo just sits there mocking you. Or worse, it says something like, EA Sports, it's in the game. And it is in the game. Lurking, waiting, biding its time for you to be, for just one moment, relaxed in the thought that, hey, maybe this game isn't bad. Maybe this game is actually good. And then it strikes and hits you with all sorts of stuff like DLC that's worth $100 just so you can play what should have been in the game in the first place, or sequels that should not have been made, or, hey, you know how we made it always online so we can stop pirates? Well, we're shutting down the game because we sold shit because basically we're a horrible company. Electronic Arts, continuing to be one of the most horrifying things in gaming. Next to Microsoft, Ubisoft, and Activision. Number 2. Everything in Silent Hill. Yeah, a lot of games have horrific imagery in them, like someone being torn apart, someone having their tongue ripped out, but those things just pay lip service to the gruesomeness. For some really horrifying shit, you have to go to Silent Hill, because that game horrifies you on more than one level. It horrifies you visually, auditively, and psychologically. And it does so with a level of efficiency which you don't see in most games, because in most games, while you're battling against giant monsters and horrific twisted things, you're mostly armed to the teeth with all sorts of weapons and stuff that can break apart planets. Here, no. Here, you're fucked. Screwed. This is a survival horror series, up until the recent ones, where just finishing the game and still being sane was considered a success. Because the stuff in there, wow, the stuff in there was just hoo-hoo. There's stuff in there. I'm just saying there's stuff in there that's quite horrifying. And the most horrific scene in gaming history is when you're playing a game with no manual save, it's long as fuck, you're near the end, and when you're saving,
This happens.
At that point, you start to wonder, is it worth being alive? Must the world be filled with life? Can't it all just burn away into nothingness like my save game after 200 hours of effort gone? Like dust in the wind, like tears in the rain, like our other YouTube channel because YouTube is kinda shit. It's the kind of thing that will leave you scarred for life. It will mortify you when it happens. It will leave you crawling under your bed and sobbing, hunched over in a corner in a fetal position, crying, mumbling words you don't even understand, invoking the great god Cthulhu from the beyond to end the world because it's meaningless now. It has no point, just like the game you played, because you lost everything. Absolutely everything. And that by far is the most horrifying thing you can experience in a video game. And that's it for the top 7 most horrific scenes in games. I'd also like to give a special mention to The Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 1, the scene with the doggy. Yes, the doggy, the really nice doggy that comes along with you and then, oh boy, it doesn't end well for the doggy. Also to Uplay, the software which is kinda awful and horrifying to use most times. And to Steam support.
If you enjoyed this show, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Or, if you thought it was horrible, then share it with your enemies and make them suffer. We shall be your weapon of vengeance. But if you liked what you saw, you could, I don't know, maybe donate, because basically YouTube is horrible at revenue, by using the link in the description, or just buy my book. It's a fantasy book about, well, a lot of stuff. I guarantee it won't suck, and if it does suck, you can find me here and complain about it. Unlike some game developers, Ubisoft, I'll actually listen to your feedback.